Join Tiny Tales Paradise for the little swan's journey home, a fun bedtime story for kids. This educational kids story teaches kindness through colorful animations and a warm narration, perfect for bedtime or classroom learning. Subscribe for weekly fairy tales and moral stories. The Little Swan's Journey Home, Chapter 1. The Heart-Shaped Tuft. In a sparkling lake, nestled between rolling green hills and whispering reeds, a little swan named Sable was born. Unlike his siblings, who had fluffy gray feathers, Sable had a bright red, heart-shaped tuft right on top of his head. His family thought it was the most charming thing they'd ever seen. "Oh, Sable," his mother cooed, "your heart makes you special." His father nodded proudly, and his siblings quacked in delight, chasing him playfully around the lily pads. Sable's lake was a busy place, filled with creatures of all kinds: frogs that croaked lullabies, dragonflies that zipped like tiny rainbows, and fish that shimmered under the water. Sable loved exploring, but he was a bit different from the other signets. While they practiced graceful gliding, Sable preferred splashing and diving, chasing bubbles and singing little songs he made up. His heart-shaped tuft bobbed as he danced across the water, and the other animals would giggle and cheer. One sunny morning, Sable's curiosity got the better of him. A flock of geese flew overhead, their loud honks echoing across the lake. Where are they going? Sable wondered, his eyes wide with excitement. Without telling anyone, he flapped his small wings and paddled after them, determined to find out. The geese soared over the hills, and Sable, caught up in the adventure, didn't notice how far he'd gone until the lake was just a tiny sparkle behind him. By afternoon, Sable realized he was lost. The hills looked unfamiliar, the reeds were taller, and the water wasn't as clear. His heart-shaped tuft drooped as he called out, "Mama, Papa," but no one answered. Tired and scared, Sable tucked himself into a patch of reeds and fell asleep, hoping morning would bring him home. Chapter 2. The Flock of Geese. The next day, Sable woke to the sound of honking. A large flock of geese waddled nearby, pecking at the grass. Sable's heart lifted. Maybe they could help. He paddled over, his red tuft bouncing. "Hello," he chirped. "I'm Sable, and I'm lost. Can I join you?" The geese turned to look at him. Their leader, a stern goose named Griselda, tilted her head. "You're not a goose," she said, her voice sharp. "Look at that red thing on your head, and you're too splashy." The other geese snickered, pointing their beaks at Sable's tuft. "Geese are neat and orderly," Griselda continued. "You don't belong with us." Sable's heart sank, but he didn't give up. "Please," he said softly, "I just need help finding my lake." Griselda huffed, but finally nodded. "Fine, stay at the back and don't make trouble," Sable agreed, hoping he'd prove he could fit in. Life with the geese was hard. They marched in perfect lines, honked in rhythm, and ate the same grass every day. Sable tried to march, but he'd trip over his own webbed feet. He tried to honk, but his voice came out as a squeaky song. The other geese whispered and laughed. "Look at Hearthead," they teased. "He's too clumsy to be a goose." Sable felt smaller and smaller, his red tuft drooping lower each day. One evening, as the flock settled by a muddy pond, Sable sat alone, watching the stars reflect on the water. "Why am I so different?" he whispered. "I just want to go home." A tiny frog, no bigger than a pebble, hopped onto a nearby lily pad. "Hey, why so sad?" it croaked. Sable sighed. I don't fit in with the geese. They laugh at my tuft and my songs. I'm lost, and I don't know how to get home. The frog tilted its head. You don't need to be a goose to be great. Maybe you just need to find friends who like you for you. Sable blinked, unsure, but the frog's kind words warmed his heart. I'm Freddie, the frog said. If you need a friend, I'm here. Sable smiled for the first time that day, feeling a tiny spark of hope. Chapter 3. The Kindness of Strangers. The next morning, the geese set off again, flying over fields and forests. Sable struggled to keep up, his wings not as strong as theirs. During a break by a rushing river, he noticed a beaver struggling to carry a heavy stick. The other geese ignored it, but Sable paddled over. Need help? He asked. The beaver, named Benny, looked surprised. You'd help me? Most birds just fly by. Sable used his beak to nudge the stick into place, and together they built a small dam. Benny grinned. You're kind, little swan. If you ever need directions, I know these rivers like my own tail. Where are you headed? Sable described his sparkling lake with lily pads and dragonflies. Benny scratched his head. Sounds like Crystal Lake, way south. Follow the river with the twisty willow trees, it'll lead you closer. Sable's heart leaped. He thanked Benny and rejoined the geese, feeling lighter. But the geese weren't impressed. Helping beavers, Griselda scoffed. That's not what geese do. The others laughed, and Sable's tuft drooped again. Still, he held on to Benny's directions, whispering them to himself so he wouldn't forget. Days passed, and Sable's kindness kept shining through. When a squirrel dropped her acorns, Sable helped gather them. When a duckling got stuck in the mud, Sable gently pushed it free. Each animal he helped offered a small clue about his home. Twisty willows, a hill shaped like a turtle, a meadow full of daisies. Sable tucked these clues into his heart, even as the geese teased him more. One rainy day, the flock stopped at a marsh. Sable spotted a turtle struggling to climb a slippery rock. Ignoring the geese's snickers, he swam over and gave the turtle, named Tessa, a gentle nudge. Tessa beamed. You're a gem, young swan. I know Crystal Lake, it's past the turtle-shaped hill and the daisy meadow. Keep going south, and you'll find it. Sable's eyes sparkled. Thank you, Tessa. For the first time, he felt like home was possible. But the geese were moving on, and Sable had to hurry to catch up. As he ran, he tripped and splashed into the mud, his red tuft now a muddy brown. The geese burst out laughing. Heartheads, a mess, they honked. Sable felt tears prick his eyes, but he remembered Freddie's words. Find friends who like you for you. Chapter 4. The Turning Point. That night, Sable couldn't sleep. The geese's laughter echoed in his mind, and he felt more alone than ever. He waddled to the edge of the marsh and stared at the water. I'm not a goose, he whispered. I'm a swan, and I'm going to find my home. The next morning, Sable made a bold choice. As the geese prepared to fly, he stood tall as a little signet could, and said, I'm leaving to find my lake. Thank you for letting me travel with you. Griselda raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. A few younger geese looked surprised, and one even whispered, Good luck, Hearthead. Sable set off alone, following the river with the twisty willows. It was scary without the flock, but also freeing. He could splash, sing, and dive without anyone laughing. Along the way, he met more animals who helped because of his kindness. A sparrow shared her berries when Sable was hungry. A rabbit pointed out the turtle-shaped hill. Each act of kindness made Sable's heart-shaped tuft glow brighter, as if it was soaking up the love. One day, Sable reached the daisy meadow Tessa had described. It was beautiful, with flowers swaying in the breeze. But a sudden storm rolled in, and Sable had to hide under a bush. Shivering and scared, he heard a familiar croak. "Sable, is that you?" It was Freddie, the frog, who'd hopped all this way to find him. "Freddie," Sable cried, "how did you get here?" "I hitched a ride on a duck's back," Freddie grinned. "You helped so many animals. They're all talking about the swan with the heart-shaped tuft. I wanted to make sure you got home." Sable's heart swelled. For the first time, he realized his differences, his tuft, his songs, his kindness were his strengths. Together, Sable and Freddie braved the storm, following the clues. They crossed the turtle-shaped hill and found a sparkling lake in the distance. Sable's wings fluttered with excitement. "That's it," he cried. "That's my home." Chapter 5. Home at last. Sable and Freddie approached Crystal Lake. The reeds parted, and Sable's family appeared. "Sable," his mother cried, wrapping him in her wings. His siblings quacked and splashed, overjoyed. "We missed you," his father said, nuzzling his red tuft. Sable introduced Freddie, and the swans welcomed him like family. That evening, the lake was alive with celebration. Frogs croaked, dragonflies danced, and fish leaped. Sable told his family about his journey, the geese, the teasing, and the friends who helped him. "I thought I had to be like them," Sable said, "but I learned I'm perfect being me." His mother smiled. "Your heart-shaped tuft isn't just on your head, it's in everything you do." Sable beamed, his tuft glowing brighter than ever. Freddie stayed at Crystal Lake, and he and Sable became the best of friends. Sable never stopped being kind, and the animals he'd helped along the way visited often, sharing stories and laughter. The geese even flew by once, and Griselda admitted, "You did all right, Hearthead." Sable just laughed and splashed, happy to be home. The lesson Sable's journey taught him and all the creatures of Crystal Lake that being different is a gift. Kindness, not sameness, builds friendships and lights the way home. And so, every night, as the stars twinkled above the lake, Sable sang his songs, his heart-shaped tuft shining like a beacon of love and hope.